Deanna Sawyer was halfway through explaining the difference between a cappuccino and a latte to an impatient customer when the most attractive man she had ever seen walked through the door of Moonlight Coffee, and she forgot what she was saying entirely. He stood at least 6 feet tall, with dark hair that looked professionally styled even at 7 in the morning, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass, and when his eyes swept the small coffee shop, Deanna felt her breath catch. Then his gaze landed on her, and he walked straight to the counter with the kind of confidence that came from owning every room he entered. "I need your help," he said without preamble, his voice deep and urgent, "and I will pay you $10,000 for 1 weekend of your time." Deanna blinked. The impatient customer made an annoyed sound and walked away. Her coworker Jenny froze mid-pour, eyes wide. "Excuse me," Deanna managed. "I know this sounds insane," the man continued, leaning against the counter. Up close, she could see the desperation in his striking green eyes. "My name is Nathan Vaughn. I own Vaughn Hospitality Group. My grandmother is turning 80 this weekend, and she has been asking when I am going to settle down for the past 5 years. Last month, I told her I was seeing someone seriously just to get her off my back. Now she is demanding to meet this girlfriend at her birthday celebration, and I do not have one." Deanna stared at him. "You want to hire me to pretend to be your girlfriend for 3 days, Friday evening through Sunday afternoon? You would stay at my family's estate in the Hamptons, attend my grandmother's birthday party on Saturday, and be convincing enough that my family believes we are genuinely together." He pulled out his wallet and extracted a sleek business card. "I will pay you $10,000. 5,000 upfront, 5,000 when we return to the city." "This is absolutely crazy," Deanna said, but she took the card. Nathan Vaughn, CEO, Vaughn Hospitality Group. She recognized the name now. His company owned luxury hotels across the East Coast. This man was not just wealthy. He was a multimillionaire, possibly a billionaire. "I am aware of how this sounds," Nathan said, "but I am desperate. My grandmother has been calling me every day. My mother has started sending me profiles of daughters of her friends. My sister keeps setting up blind dates. I just need them to back off for a while, and if they meet someone I am supposedly serious about, it will buy me at least a year of peace." Diana looked down at the business card in her hand, then at the coffee shop around her. She had been working at Moonlight Coffee for 3 years while trying to make it as a freelance photographer. Her camera equipment needed upgrading. Her rent was going up next month. $10,000 could change everything. "Why me?" she asked. Nathan's expression softened slightly. "Because you look kind. Because when I walked in here, you were being patient with that rude customer even though he did not deserve it. Because I have been sitting in my car outside for 20 minutes trying to work up the courage to do this, and you were the first person I saw who seemed like someone my grandmother would actually like." There was something disarming about his honesty. Deanna bit her lip, considering. "What would I have to do? Hold my hand, laugh at my jokes, act like you care about me when my family is watching? Wear nice dresses to dinner?" He paused. "I would be respectful. Separate bedrooms, obviously, and I would cover all expenses plus the 10,000. Jenny appeared at Deanna's elbow. "Can I talk to you for a second?" Diana followed her coworker to the back room. Jenny immediately grabbed her shoulders. "Are you actually considering this? It is $10,000, Jenny. It is also potentially dangerous. You do not know this guy." He gave me his business card. "I can look him up. And it is just a weekend at a family estate. There will be tons of people around." Deanna pulled out her phone and quickly searched Nathan Vaughn. His photo appeared immediately, along with dozens of articles about his company. Forbes estimated his net worth at over $200 million. He is legitimate, or legitimately crazy. Maybe, Deanna admitted, but $10,000 would change my life right now. And honestly, what is the worst that could happen? I spend a weekend at a mansion in the Hamptons pretending to date a gorgeous CEO. There are worse ways to spend 3 days, Jenny sighed. If you end up murdered, I am going to be so mad at you. If I end up murdered, I will be pretty mad at myself too. Diana walked back to the counter. Nathan was still standing there, looking both hopeful and anxious in a way that made him seem more human than his expensive suit suggested. "Okay," she said, "I will do it. But I want the first 5,000 up front, and I want us to meet somewhere public before this weekend so I can make sure you are not completely insane." Relief washed over Nathan's face, transforming it entirely. When he smiled, Deanna felt her stomach flip. "Thank you. Seriously. You are saving my life." He pulled out his phone. "Give me your number. We should meet tomorrow evening to go over the details. Our story, how we met, that sort of thing." Deanna rattled off her number, still half convinced she was making a terrible mistake. But when Nathan looked at her with those green eyes, and that grateful smile, terrible mistake seemed like a relative term. They met the next evening at a quiet wine bar in Manhattan. Nathan arrived before her, already seated at a corner table with 2 glasses of red wine waiting. He stood when she approached, and Deanna noticed he had ditched the suit for dark jeans and a fitted black sweater that somehow made him look even better. "Thank you for coming," he said as she sat down. "I was half afraid you would change your mind." "I almost did about 6 times today," Deanna admitted. "My best friend thinks I am insane. You probably are, but I appreciate the insanity." Nathan slid an envelope across the table. 5,000 as promised. Deanna opened it enough to see the thick stack of bills inside, then tucked it quickly into her purse. "So, how do we meet?" "I have been thinking about that," Nathan said. "We should keep it close to the truth. We met at your coffee shop about 3 months ago. I came in for my morning coffee, we started talking, I asked you out. Simple, believable, based in reality. What do I need to know about your family?" Nathan took a long drink of wine. "My grandmother, Nathan Vaughn, is the matriarch. She built the company from a single hotel back in the 70s. She is sharp, loving, and relentless when she wants something. My mother, Patricia, is nice enough but a bit snobby. She is going to judge everything about you, but do not take it personally. She judges everyone. My father, Richard, is quiet and spends most of family gatherings reading the newspaper. My sister, Caroline, is 29, recently engaged and generally pleasant unless she has been drinking, at which point she becomes very chatty and nosy. Any other family members I should know about? My uncle David and his wife Michelle will be there, along with their twin sons who are in college. A handful of my grandmother's friends, maybe 40 people total." Diana's eyes widened. 40 people? I thought this was a small family gathering." "It is small for my family," Nathan said dryly. "Last year my grandmother's birthday had 200 guests. Oh my God, what have I agreed to?" Nathan reached across the table and touched her hand. The gesture was probably meant to be reassuring, but Diana felt electricity shoot up her arm. "You will be fine. Just stick close to me and I will handle everything. If anyone gets too intrusive, I will shut it down." "What about the physical stuff?" Deanna asked. "Like, how much am I supposed to touch you, hand-holding? Maybe I put my arm around you, a kiss on the cheek here and there." Nathan's eyes met hers. "Nothing that would make you uncomfortable. We can establish boundaries." "Have you ever actually had a serious girlfriend?" Deanna asked. Nathan leaned back in his chair. "A few. Nothing that lasted more than a year. I have been focused on the company." "It sounds like a cliché, but the business really does take up most of my time. My grandmother thinks I am going to end up alone if I do not make a relationship a priority, but honestly, I have not met anyone who made me want to reprioritize. So you lied to get her off your back, and now you are in too deep to back out. Exactly. Nathan smiled ruefully. I should have just told her the truth, but she looked so happy when I said I was seeing someone. And then she started telling all her friends, and my mother got involved, and suddenly there was no graceful way to admit I had made the whole thing up. Deanna found herself smiling. There was something endearing about this powerful CEO being afraid to disappoint his grandmother. For what it is worth, I think it is sweet that you care so much about what she thinks. She raised me as much as my parents did, Nathan said quietly. When I was a kid, I spent every summer at her house. She taught me how to swim, how to play chess, how to run a business. She is the reason I have everything I have. So yeah, I care what she thinks. Maybe too much. They spent the next hour going over details. Deanna told him about her photography, her coffee shop job where she grew up in Connecticut. Nathan told her about growing up in New York City, going to business school at Columbia, taking over as CEO when he was only 28. The conversation flowed easily, and by the time they finished their second glass of wine, Deanna realized she was genuinely enjoying herself. I should get going, she said finally, checking her phone. Early shift tomorrow. Nathan stood with her. Can I drive you home? I will take the subway, but thank you. Deanna hesitated. This was nice. I feel better about the weekend now. Good, Nathan smiled. I will pick you up Friday at noon. Pack nice dresses for dinners, casual clothes for during the day, and something elegant for the party on Saturday night. And Deanna, thank you again. Really. Deanna rode the subway home with $5,000 in her purse and butterflies in her stomach that had nothing to do with the money and everything to do with the way Nathan had looked at her across that table. Friday arrived too quickly. Deanna had spent the previous evening packing and repacking her suitcase, agonizing over every outfit choice. She had borrowed a cocktail dress from Jenny and splurged on a new dress for the birthday party itself, a deep emerald green that brought out her eyes. When Nathan texted that he was outside, her heart started racing. She found him leaning against a sleek black car that probably cost more than most people's houses. He looked casually perfect in khakis and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. When he saw her, his face lit up. Ready? He asked, taking her suitcase. As I will ever be. The drive to the Hamptons took just over 2 hours. Nathan kept up a steady stream of conversation, clearly trying to keep Deanna relaxed. He asked about her photography, what kind of subjects she liked to shoot. She told him about the series she had been working on, portraits of everyday people in New York City. He seemed genuinely interested, asking thoughtful questions that made her talk more than she usually did about her work. Have you ever thought about doing it full-time? Nathan asked as they drove past sprawling estates all the time. But it is hard to make a living as an artist, especially starting out. The coffee shop pays the bills while I build my portfolio. Deanna looked out the window. Someday, maybe. You should pursue it, Nathan said. Life is too short to spend it doing something that is just paying the bills. Easy to say when you are worth $200 million. Nathan laughed. Fair point. But I mean it. I can see your face when you talk about photography. That is the kind of passion you should be chasing. They arrived at the Vaughn estate just after 2 in the afternoon. Deanna had known it would be nice, but nothing prepared her for the reality of the massive stone mansion set on immaculate grounds overlooking the ocean. There were actual gardens with sculptures, a tennis court. What looked like a guest house that was bigger than her apartment building. Holy hell, she breathed. Still time to run, Nathan joked, but she could see tension in his shoulders as they pulled up to the front entrance. An older woman appeared on the steps, elegant in white linen, her silver hair perfectly styled. Nathan Vaughn, Deanna realized. The grandmother. Deep breath, Nathan murmured. You have got this. Then he got out of the car and immediately transformed. His posture changed, his smile widened, and when he came around to open Deanna's door, he took her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Grandmother, he called out warmly. There is someone I want you to meet. Alina descended the steps with the grace of someone who had spent 80 years being in charge. Her eyes swept over Deanna with sharp intelligence. So you are the young woman my grandson has been keeping secret. Deanna Sawyer, Deanna said, extending her hand. It is wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Vaughn, Alina, please. The older woman's handshake was firm. And I am delighted Nathan has finally brought you to meet the family. I was beginning to think he was making you up. Deanna felt Nathan tense beside her. She squeezed his hand and smiled. He talks about you all the time. He has been nervous about me meeting you because you are such an important person in his life. Alina's expression softened. Is that so? Well, come inside. Let me get a proper look at you both. The interior of the house was even more impressive than the exterior. High ceilings, original artwork, furniture that was somehow both antique and comfortable. Alina led them to a sunlit sitting room where a woman who had to be Nathan's mother was arranging flowers. Patricia, come meet Deanna, Alina called. Patricia Vaughn turned, and Deanna recognized the exact moment she was being assessed and found potentially wanting. But she had dealt with difficult customers for years. She knew how to handle scrutiny. Mrs. Vaughn, what beautiful arrangements, Deanna said warmly. Are these from your gardens? Patricia blinked, clearly surprised. Yes, actually, do you know flowers? My mother was a florist. I grew up helping her with arrangements. This was true. Deanna watched Patricia's expression shift slightly, warming just a fraction. How interesting. You will have to see our rose garden while you are here. Nathan's hand moved to the small of Deanna's back, and she felt the warmth of his palm through her shirt. Where should we put our bags, Mother? The blue room for you, Nathan. Deanna will be in the rose room across the hall. They were shown upstairs by a member of the house staff, a kind woman named Helen who pointed out where everything was. The rose room was stunning, with French doors that opened onto a balcony overlooking the ocean. Deanna stood there for a moment after Helen left, trying to process the surreal nature of her situation. A soft knock made her turn. Nathan stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. Can I come in? Of course. It is your house. Actually, it is my grandmother's house, and she is very particular about privacy. Nathan closed the door behind him. You were amazing down there, that thing about your mother being a florist, genius. My mother is obsessed with her gardens. It was the truth, Deanna said. I just figured it could not hurt. Nathan crossed to the balcony, standing beside her. I owe you already. That could have been so much more awkward. The day is still young. Deanna smiled. What is the plan? Casual family dinner tonight. Tomorrow is the big party. Sunday brunch, and then we can escape back to the city. He looked at her. How are you feeling, honestly? Terrified and weirdly excited. Deanna leaned against the railing. Your grandmother is intimidating. She likes you, I can tell. How can you possibly tell? She did not ask you a single invasive question. When she does not like someone, she interrogates them immediately. With you, she is waiting, watching. That means she sees potential. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. Dinner is at 7, cocktails at 6, casual but nice. Got it. Deanna hesitated. Nathan, thank you for this. I know it is weird, but this house, this view, the whole experience is pretty incredible. So even though I am being paid, I want you to know I appreciate it. Something flickered across Nathan's face, an expression Deanna could not quite read. "You are welcome. And Deanna, I am glad it is you here with me." He left before she could respond, but his words stayed with her as she unpacked and got ready for the evening. Cocktail hour was an exercise in controlled chaos. Nathan's sister Caroline arrived with her fiancé, a pleasant man named Thomas who worked in finance. Uncle David and Aunt Michelle were already there with their twin sons, both of whom were polite if somewhat distracted by their phones. Richard Vaughn shook Deanna's hand with a warm smile and immediately returned to his conversation about the stock market with Uncle David. Nathan stayed close to Deanna the entire time, his hand resting on her lower back or holding hers. It should have felt awkward, this manufactured intimacy, but instead it felt natural, easy. He brought her drinks, included her in conversations, laughed at her jokes. If she had not known it was an act, she would have believed they were actually together. Dinner was served in an elegant dining room with 14 people around a massive table. Deanna found herself seated between Nathan and Caroline, who proved to be as chatty as Nathan had warned. "So how did you two really meet?" Caroline asked, leaning in conspiratorially. "Nathan told us the coffee shop story, but I want details." Deanna felt Nathan's leg press against hers under the table, a silent message of support. "It was pretty simple, actually. He came in one morning during the rush, and I accidentally gave him someone else's order. A caramel macchiato with extra whipped cream instead of his usual black coffee. He was so nice about it, made a joke about trying something new. We started talking, and he kept coming back. After a few weeks, he asked me out." "How romantic," Caroline said, though Deanna could not tell if she was being sincere or sarcastic. "And what do you think of Nathan's work schedule? He basically lives at the office." "I think he is passionate about what he does," Deanna said carefully, "and I respect that. I am pretty focused on my own career too, so I understand the drive." "What is it you do again?" "I am a photographer, and I work at the coffee shop to pay the bills while I build my portfolio." Caroline's expression shifted to something more genuine. "That is actually cool. I wanted to be a writer once, but my parents convinced me to get a business degree instead. Now I work in marketing and hate every second of it." "It is never too late to pursue what you love," Deanna said. "Maybe," Caroline smiled. "I like you. You are different from the women Nathan usually dates." Deanna wanted to ask what that meant, but Nathan chose that moment to put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her slightly closer. "Stop interrogating my girlfriend, Caroline. I am just getting to know her. Someone has to make sure she is good enough for you." "She is," Nathan said simply, and the way he looked at Deanna when he said it made her forget they were pretending. The evening continued with ease. Alina shared stories about building her hotel empire, about the early days when people told her a woman could not succeed in business. Deanna found herself genuinely engaged, asking questions, laughing at the funny anecdotes. When they finally retired for the evening around 11, she was exhausted but happy. Nathan walked her to her room. They stood in the hallway between their doors, the house quiet around them. "You were incredible tonight," Nathan said softly. "Better than I could have hoped. My family loves you. Your sister is nice. Your grandmother is terrifying but fascinating. Your mother is warming up to me. She asked me in the kitchen if you were the one. Those were her actual words." "Is she the one, Nathan?" He shook his head, smiling. "I have never seen my mother take to someone so quickly." "What did you tell her?" Nathan's eyes met hers. "I told her it was too soon to know for sure, but that I had never felt this way about anyone before." Diana's breath caught. It was just part of the act, she reminded herself. Lines for his family. But standing here in the dim hallway with Nathan looking at her like that, it did not feel like acting. "Good night, Nathan," she said finally. "Good night, Deanna." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering for just a moment. "Sleep well." Deanna barely slept. She kept replaying the evening, the way Nathan had touched her, looked at her, the things he had said. It was all for show, she kept reminding herself. He was paying her to be here. This was not real. But when she came down to breakfast the next morning and saw Nathan's face light up at the sight of her, something in her chest tightened with dangerous possibility. The day passed in a flurry of party preparations. Deanna helped Alina's florist arrange centerpieces, earning approving nods from Patricia. She took photos of the estate at Nathan's request, capturing moments of his family preparing for the celebration. The twins got her to play tennis, which she was terrible at, and everyone laughed. Caroline pulled her aside to show her the wedding dress she was considering. Through it all, Nathan was there, bringing her water when she looked hot, kissing her temple when he passed by, finding her in quiet moments to make sure she was okay. Each touch felt more real than the last. The party that evening was magnificent. Nearly 50 people filled the house and spilled onto the terrace overlooking the ocean. Deanna wore her emerald dress and felt like someone from a different life. Nathan appeared in her doorway in a perfectly fitted black suit, and his sharp intake of breath when he saw her made her skin flush. "You look stunning," he said, and his voice held none of the casual tone from before. This was raw and honest. "You clean up pretty well yourself." Nathan offered his arm. Ready to do this. The party was a swirl of champagne and conversation. Nathan introduced Deanna to what felt like 100 people, and she smiled until her face hurt. They danced on the terrace under string lights, Nathan's hand firm on her waist, their bodies close enough that she could feel his heartbeat. "Thank you for this," Nathan murmured as they swayed to the music. "I know I have said it before, but I mean it. This whole weekend you have been perfect." "It has not been hard," Deanna admitted. "Your family is wonderful and you are making it easy." Nathan pulled back slightly to look at her. "Deanna, I need to tell you something." But before he could continue, Alina tapped a glass, calling for attention. Everyone gathered as she stood at the center of the terrace, elegant and commanding at 80 years old. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate with me," Alina said. 80 years is a long time, and I am grateful for every moment, especially those spent with the people I love most. Her eyes found Nathan and Deanna in the crowd. "This year has brought me particular joy because I have finally seen my grandson find someone who makes him truly happy." "Deanna, would you come here, dear?" Diana's heart stopped. Nathan squeezed her hand and they walked forward together. Everyone was watching. Cameras were out. This was not part of the plan. "I have been worried about Nathan," Alina continued. "Worried that he was letting life pass him by while he focused only on work. But seeing him this weekend, seeing the way he looks at you and the way you look at him, I know my worries were unfounded. That is real love. Anyone can see it." Deanna felt tears prick her eyes, and she did not know if they were from the performance or from the truth of how she had started to feel. Nathan's arm tightened around her waist. "To love," Alina said, raising her glass, "in all its forms. May we all be blessed enough to find what these two have found." Everyone drank. Nathan turned to Deanna, and in front of 50 witnesses, he kissed her. It was supposed to be for show, she knew that. But his lips were soft and warm, and the kiss held a tenderness that made her forget where they were, forget why they were doing this, forget everything except the feeling of his mouth on hers. When they broke apart, applause surrounded them. Deanna felt dizzy. Nathan looked shaken. They somehow made it through the rest of the party on autopilot, smiling and accepting congratulations, but the air between them had changed fundamentally. Finally, near midnight, Deanna escaped to the balcony off her room. She needed air, space, a moment to think. The ocean stretched dark and infinite before her. Deanna. Nathan's voice came from behind her. She turned to find him standing in the doorway, his jacket gone, his tie loosened. "We need to talk." "That kiss was not for show," Deanna said. It was not a question. "No," Nathan crossed to her. "Nothing tonight has been for show, maybe nothing this whole weekend has been." "Nathan, you are paying me to be here." "I know. And that makes this complicated and probably inappropriate, but I do not care anymore." He took her hands. "From the moment you agreed to this crazy scheme, I have not been able to stop thinking about you. This weekend, getting to pretend you were mine, it has been the best 3 days I have had in years. And I know it is supposed to be fake, but Deanna, what I feel is not fake, not even a little bit." Deanna's heart was racing. "I have been telling myself this is just an act, that I am just doing a job. But when you look at me the way you have been looking at me, when you touch me, when you kiss me, I forget we are pretending." "Then stop pretending." Nathan cupped her face in his hands. "I do not want this to end tomorrow. I do not want to take you back to the city and say goodbye and pretend this was just a business arrangement. I want to take you to dinner for real. I want to know everything about you. I want to see where this could go. You barely know me. I know you are kind to rude customers, even when they do not deserve it. I know you light up when you talk about photography. I know you made my mother like you in under 5 minutes, which is basically a superpower. I know my grandmother, who has perfect instincts about people, thinks you are wonderful, and I know that when I kiss you, everything else disappears." Nathan's thumb stroked her cheek. "That is enough for me to want more." Diana felt tears spill over. "This is insane." "I know. You hired me to be your fake girlfriend, I know. And now you want to actually date me." "Yes," Nathan smiled. "Is that a terrible idea? Probably the worst." Deanna laughed through her tears. "But I want to anyway. God help me, I really want to." Nathan kissed her again, and this time there was no audience, no performance, nothing but the two of them and the truth of what they felt. Deanna wrapped her arms around his neck, and when he lifted her slightly off her feet, she felt like she was flying. They spent the rest of the night on her balcony, talking until the sun started to rise over the ocean. Nathan told her about his dreams for the company, his fears about living up to his grandmother's legacy. Deanna told him about growing up with a single mother, about the camera her mom bought her when she was 10 that started everything. They shared stories and secrets and hopes, and with each revelation, the connection between them deepened. Sunday brunch was a relaxed affair. Eleanor seemed to sense something had shifted, because she kept smiling at them with knowing satisfaction. Caroline hugged Deanna goodbye and made her promise to come to her wedding. Patricia gave her a genuine smile and an invitation to visit the Rose Garden anytime. The drive back to the city felt both too long and too short. Nathan held Deanna's hand the entire way, only releasing it to shift gears. They did not talk much, but the silence was comfortable, full of possibility. When they pulled up to her apartment building, Nathan turned off the engine and faced her. "So, dinner tomorrow night. A real date." "A real date," Deanna confirmed. "But you are not paying me for this one." "Obviously. In fact, I think I should probably not give you the second half of our arrangement. It feels weird now." "Nathan Vaughn, you will give me that $5,000 as agreed, or I will be very upset with you." Deanna smiled. "A deal is a deal. What happens after the deal is a completely separate matter." "Fair enough." He pulled the envelope from his jacket pocket and handed it to her. "Payment in full for the best weekend of my life." "It was pretty great, was not it, Deanna?" Nathan took her hand again. "I know this started in the strangest way possible, but I need you to know I am serious about this, about you. I do not do things halfway, and I am not looking for something casual. If we do this, I am all in." Diana felt her heart swell. I am all in too. He kissed her softly, then walked her to her door. When Diana turned back at the entrance to her building, Nathan was still standing by his car, watching her with an expression that made her believe in happy endings. Their first real date was at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, far from the glamorous world of the Hamptons estate. Nathan wore jeans and looked more relaxed than Diana had ever seen him. They shared pasta and wine and laughed until they cried. He told her terrible jokes. She showed him photos on her camera. He held her hand across the table and looked at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. I am going to tell my grandmother the truth eventually, Nathan said over tiramisu. That we were not really dating when I brought you to meet her. But right now, I just want to enjoy this without the explanation. She is going to kill you when she finds out, probably, but she also will be smug because she was right. You are the one. Nathan said it simply, like it was an obvious fact. Nathan, we have been really dating for about 12 hours. I do not care. I know what I feel. He squeezed her hand. You do not have to say it back. I am not trying to rush you. I just want you to know where I stand. Diana looked at this incredible man across the table from her. This CEO who ran a $200 million company, but was nervous about telling his grandmother the truth. This person who had been so desperate to make his family happy that he hired a fake girlfriend, only to fall for the real thing. I am falling for you too, she admitted. It is terrifying and too fast and completely illogical, but I am falling for you, Nathan Vaughn. His smile could have lit the entire city. Over the next 3 months, Diana and Nathan built something real from their artificial beginning. He came to the coffee shop every morning, sitting at the corner table and working on his laptop while she served customers, just to be near her. She photographed a corporate event for his company and met his colleagues, who were all shocked that their serious CEO was suddenly bringing his girlfriend around the office. He bought her a new camera lens she had been saving up for, and when she protested, he said it was an investment in her talent. She cooked dinner in his penthouse apartment and made him laugh so hard he cried. He met her mother and charmed her within 5 minutes. She taught him about photography composition. He taught her about running a business. Eleanor called Nathan every week and always asked to speak to Diana. Patricia invited them both to lunch and actually smiled. Caroline included Diana in her wedding planning. The fake relationship had become so real that everyone forgot it started as a lie. 6 months after that weekend in the Hamptons, Diana quit her coffee shop job to pursue photography full-time. Nathan had introduced her to several clients, and her business grew faster than she could have imagined. She moved into his penthouse, not because he asked, but because they spent every night together anyway, and it seemed silly to maintain 2 apartments. 1 year after their first weekend together, Nathan took Diana back to the Hamptons estate. It was just the 2 of them this time, the house empty and quiet. They walked on the beach, and when the sun started to set, Nathan led her to the exact spot on the terrace where they had danced at Eleanor's party. A year ago, I was desperate and crazy and asked a stranger to pretend to be my girlfriend, Nathan said, taking both her hands. It was the best terrible idea I ever had. It was pretty terrible, Diana agreed, smiling. Diana Sawyer, somewhere between pretending to date you and actually dating you, I fell completely in love with you. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You make me want to be better. You have brought light and joy and meaning into my life that I did not even know was missing. Nathan dropped to one knee, and Diana's breath caught. I know we started with a fake relationship, he continued, pulling out a small velvet box. But I want to spend the rest of my life making this the most real thing I have ever had. Will you marry me? Diana was crying before he finished the question. Yes. God, yes. Of course, yes. The ring was perfect, a simple diamond that caught the setting sun. Nathan slid it onto her finger and then stood, pulling her into his arms and kissing her the way he had that first night on the terrace, when they stopped pretending and started being real. They were married 6 months later in the garden at the Hamptons estate, surrounded by family and friends. Eleanor officiated, pulling strings to get certified specifically for the occasion. She also made a speech about how she had known from the moment she met Deanna that Nathan had found his match, and if everyone would please ignore the technical circumstances of their meeting, she had absolutely been right about everything. Nathan whispered to Deanna during the reception that he would tell his grandmother the full truth someday. Deanna whispered back that Eleanor probably already knew and did not care because she got what she wanted in the end. They honeymooned in Italy, where Nathan revealed he had been teaching himself Italian for 3 months just to surprise her. Diana photographed everything, and those photos became her first published collection, a book about love and new beginnings. 2 years after their wedding, Diana gave birth to twin girls. Nathan cried when he held them for the first time, these tiny perfect humans who had his green eyes and Diana's smile. They named one Eleanor, after his grandmother, and one Rose, after Diana's mother. 5 years after that first weekend, Diana's photography was being featured in galleries across New York. Nathan had expanded Vaughn hospitality into Europe. They had bought a house in the Hamptons to be closer to Eleanor, who was now 85 and absolutely delighted by her great-granddaughters. Caroline and Thomas had 2 children who played with the twins. Patricia had taken up photography herself and actually apologized to Diana for being cold when they first met. The family dinners were loud and chaotic and full of love. On their 5th anniversary, Diana and Nathan returned to Moonlight Coffee, the place where everything began. Jenny still worked there, now as manager, and she had saved them their corner table. "Remember when I thought you were insane for agreeing to this," Jenny said, bringing them coffee. "I have never been happier to be wrong." Nathan reached across the table and took Deanna's hand, running his thumb over her wedding ring. "Best $10,000 I ever spent." "Hey, I earned that money," Deanna protested, laughing. "You absolutely did. You saved me from my family's matchmaking, gave me the best weekend of my life up to that point, and then proceeded to give me the best every day after that." Nathan lifted her hand to his lips. "I would pay $10,000 for every day with you and still consider it a bargain." "You are such a romantic." "Only with you." They sat in that coffee shop, 2 people who had started with a fake relationship and built something beautifully, impossibly real. The CEO who hired a girlfriend and found a wife. The barista who took a chance on a crazy scheme and found forever. Sometimes, Deanna thought, the best love stories started with the worst ideas. Sometimes you had to pretend at something before you could recognize the truth of it. And sometimes, the act became real not because you were trying to make it so, but because underneath the pretending, something genuine was there all along, just waiting to be discovered. Nathan caught her staring and raised his eyebrows questioningly. Deanna just smiled and squeezed his hand, grateful every single day for the moment a desperate, gorgeous CEO walked into her coffee shop and asked for her help. She had said yes to 3 days. She got forever instead. And if that was not the very best kind of bargain, Deanna did not know what was.